Inside a cafe, a young boy tries to get a prize from a claw machine game but fails to do so. A young man, Nick, who is walking out with hand crutches, sees him and asks what prize he is going for. The boy points it out, so Nick uses an erasable marker to point out exactly where the boy needs to drop the claw to get his prize. Nick asks the boy if he has any money and the boy shakes his head no. Nick gives him $1 and wishes him luck. Nick wakes up from a dream. He is in a hotel room with Haley and Jonah. Nick hears his phone beeping. He looks at it and sees a message from Nomad, a hacker that has been taunting them. He wakes Jonah up and they retreat to the bathroom and open up their email. They begin sending messages to Nomad. Nomad apparently hacked the servers of MIT and messed with personnel files including theirs. However, the trio were almost blamed and were almost kicked out of school. Nick tells Nomad they will find him. To show the two who is really in charge, Nomad sends an email attachment which video links from inside their hotel room. Nick looks behind himself to see where Haley is sleeping next to her laptop. Nomad hacked her web camera. Nick closes it in anger. Nick and Jonah begin an all-out search, tracing the IP address of Nomad. They finally locate him to Goodsprings, Nevada and congratulate each other. They realize they can finally confront the person that almost ruined their lives. In the middle of their congratulations, Haley wakes up and reminds them they have to drive in the morning, so they better get some sleep. We now learn that the purpose of the trip is not exactly about finding Nomad. It is about helping Haley move to California, where she will be continuing her schooling there. Nick has clearly been avoiding the issue. At a gas station, Nick goes to get coffee. Haley asks Jonah if Nick has talked about her moving to California for a year. Jonah says they are both his friends and it isn't his place to comment on this. She will have to ask Nick. They see Nick come out with the coffee, but he stumbles with his crutches and falls, spilling the coffee all over his shirt. Nick is angry and embarrassed as they come to help him. Nick says he will go buy more coffee. Haley comes in and tries to be cute to cheer him up, but Nick is not having it. Haley tells him she decided to help in their Nomad search not because he needed the help, but because he felt he didn't. Nick gives her an angry response, and she storms off. Nick goes to Jonah and tells them they should go get Nomad since they are gave her and tries to give it back. When he refuses, she apparently tosses it over a cliffside to his surprise. The three continue to drive towards Nomad's location. Nick is hesitant to bring Haley along, but Haley is angry at Nick, agrees to go with them. "I wanted to meet this asshole," she says. Later, in complete darkness, they find the location of Nomad, apparently at an abandoned trailer. Haley stays in the car. They go downstairs. While they don't find any computers, they find server racks which give credibility to the idea that Nomad had been at the location. Suddenly they hear Haley scream. The two race back to the car, seeing all the doors open and the radio going crazy. Haley is nowhere to be found. Nick and Jonah search with flashlights around until they see Haley in the distance, being lifted into the sky. They race towards her. Random flash cutting of a Damon stops him, seeing something dripping out of Nick. However, it is just a nosebleed. Nick is taken back to a sterile hospital room. The following day, he is wheeled around the facility. As he wheels by rooms, he notices several of them being cleaned out or closed off completely. He looks into one room and sees Haley on a hospital bed. He tries to go back and see her but is denied by his guard. Damon wants to ask Nick some questions in a yes or no format and starts with a series of control questions such as, "Do you come from Earth?" Nick doesn't understand why the test is needed and shows his displeasure. Damon brings in a television and plays Nick the tape of the shack footage that Jonah filmed. Pausing during a shot of a tree, Damon zooms until Nick sees what he wants him to see. Nick recoils in horror. There is an alien figure hiding between the branches. Damon tells him in a matter-of-fact manner that Nomad wasn't some hacker. Back at his room, Nick throws his food off the table in anger and disbelief. Suddenly he hears Jonah's voice coming from a vent. Jonah tells Nick something is very wrong with the people holding them and fears that he has been experimented on. During another test, Damon wants Nick to correspond certain tiles to shapes. Nick is angry by the lack of answers and canter and passively aggressively complete. Facility is watching a cow through a pane of glass. They put on music to agitate whatever is in there. The lights go out and a chair is thrown at the glass which does not shatter. The cow is cowering in the corner. Due to this activity, a breach occurs and Nick is locked down with two hazmat guards in a room. When they leave, Nick notices long, deep cuts in the walls. Nick is interrogated again by Damon. Nick asks about Jonah. He knows that they know he has been talking to him through the vent in his room. Damon nods and confirms that they have been listening the entire facility. Nick tries to escape with Haley on her hospital bed. Despite having some close calls, Nick makes it to the exit but can't reach the keypad to open the door. Remember, he can't use his legs. He tries to use tubing to punch in the numbers, but by the time he gets the third one punched, Damon is there to take him back. Nick dreams of running, competing, and spending time with Haley. Nick wakes up to Haley, who has finally awoken. They say hello and reach for each other to hold hands. A hazmat man sees that and pushes them away. Nick yells at them and tries to reach for Haley again. Two men try to restrain him, but he struggles and falls off his bed. Seeing black blood on their suits, the men panic and leave the room. Nick looks down and sees what freaked them out. His legs have been replaced with cybernetic legs of alien origin. He understandably freaks out, and in a quick moment of humor, checks to see if they have messed with his genitals. Damon, who has been watching behind a window, speaks to Nick and tells him this is why they kept him in the dark, as trying to explain what had happened would be too difficult. They want to help him and Haley, but he has to calm down and hook himself back into a nearby floor. Nick instead stands near the door and braces himself. He kicks the door down with his new legs and pushes Haley to the exit. Damon stoically follows them, surveying the damage he has created and the researchers he has hurt along the way. At the elevator to the surface, he confronts Nick. He tells Nick he is only safe down in the facility and he cannot protect him up there. "I can only safeguard you from them down here," Damon says. "Safeguard me from who?" Nick replies, not understanding what Damon's saying but could not care less. He has had enough. He pushes Damon back and gets the elevator closed and rides it up with Haley. Nick pushes Haley down a long dark corridor, finding himself in a sewer-like system with 3 paths. He chooses one and finds himself out in the desert in the middle of nowhere. Waking Haley up, they begin to walk, looking for help. Damon preps his team to go track Nick and Haley down. After walking a while, out of nowhere, Nick and Haley see a car driving. The driver, Mirabelle, picks them up and drives them to the nearest gas station. Mirabelle seems to be a delusional religious woman who thinks she can hear God's little angels speak to her. He looks to the passenger seat and sees Haley there pointing the gun at his head. He immediately stops the truck. Nick and Haley steal it and drive off. Damon races with his team, still searching for the two. As Nick drives, Haley notices his legs for the first time and is freaked out. She asks him what happened to him. Damon sets up a roadblock and pulls over Mirabelle, carrying a red briefcase. He asks Mirabelle to accompany him and she does. Nick suddenly has to stop the truck. They got out and find that the road just ends abruptly, leaving a cliff in front of them. Nick and Haley realize they have no clue where they really are. Damon talks to Mirabelle about Nick and Haley, but Mirabelle seems more unstable than when she first encountered them. Damon sighs and opens his briefcase. Inside is a pistol. It is inferred he kills Mirabelle. Nick, after turning around the visitor center, Haley asks if everything that has happened was her fault. Nick shakes his head. "No, it's mine," he says. Haley asks if his legs hurt. Nick says no. We see Damon and his team lock down a building. Nick and Haley hear something while they are sleeping outside and go to hide. We are led to believe Damon has found them, but in actuality, they have quarantined James in his home. Damon goes to speak to him and is calm despite James pointing a shotgun at him. James talks about his family being there with him, which they are not. Damon nods along and tells James he was strong. James tries to shoot Damon, but his shotgun doesn't have any shells to his shock. Damon tells him it is okay and shoots him in the chest, killing him. He then covers James' body with a blanket and pats his shoulder. Meanwhile, Nick and Haley hide only to be confronted by a hazmat man. But it isn't one of Damon's men. It is Jonah. He escaped the facility. Nick and Jonah watch Haley sleep. They notice a mark on the back on her neck. She had been experimented on too, explaining her strange behavior. Nick and Jonah discuss their situation. Jonah believes they are in Area 51 given their tattoo. Nick is disbelieving, but Jonah counters given the strange locals and their lack of plausible geography. "We are trapped on a government annex," Jonah says. Jonah shows Nick his arms, which have been replaced with cybernetic implants like his legs. Nick and Jonah decide to try and drive through a checkpoint and get out the area. Jonah drives the truck in his suit with Nick and Haley in the back. He goes up to the checkpoint and for the moment seems like he will get through. However, they want him to get out and he panics. Jonah tries to floor it, but the guards trip a cinder block hold under the truck that keeps it in place. Jonah punches a guard and takes his gun, firing off some rounds. He fights some other guards and runs into a building. Nick and Haley are crouching near the truck, unable to do anything. Jonah sees a laptop and grabs it while he is taking fire by the guards. He tries to override the gate controls but has no luck. One hazmat guy shoots a concussion grenade into the building. causing it to explode, and disorienting Jonah greatly. Jonah walks out in a daze and gets shot twice. Fatally wounded, he goes to Nick and tells him to get in the truck with Haley. When he gives the signal, he needs them to go. Nick doesn't want to leave without him, but Jonah is firm. "I need you to go." Jonah screams. Nick and Haley get into the truck and Jonah uses his arm to smash the cinder block hold on the truck. Nick peels away, leaving Jonah behind. Crying and screaming, Jonah punches the ground with his arms, causing shockwaves on the ground, knocking hazmat men to the ground. He does this several times, buying his friends time but knowing he will eventually be killed. Cut to Nick and Haley, devastated in knowing that their friend is dead. Their escape is short-lived. In the distance, they see Damon has set up a roadblock. Unsure what to do, Nick continues to drive towards it, despite seeing all the guns pointed at them. Damon nods to two men who throw down a spike strip. Nick hits it, blowing the tires and causing the truck to flip. Time passes. Nick and Haley are beaten and broken, having crawled out of the truck cab. Nick looks at Haley, unable to do anything. He flashes back to the time they spent together. Haley whispers that she loves him. She hands him something as hazmat men grab her and evacuate her to a waiting chopper. Nick looks at his hand. It is the necklace he thought she threw away. She had. Nick gets up as Damon walks up to him. Nick looks at the helicopter flying away. Damon tells him not to bother as he cannot catch them. Nick notices a Damon. Nick stares at Damon and his men who train guns at him. Nick thinks of running again, of kissing Haley. Emotions course through his veins. He screams, his legs glowing fire red and causing the ground to crack. Nick begins to run fast, literally running through a car. Damon's men fire at him, but Nick is too fast. He runs faster and faster until he crashes through a barrier-like glass. He finds himself in a building-like structure. Turning around, he sees he crashed through the desert zone. Everything he has been a simulation. Damon calmly leaves the window and sees that he is at an unknown space station about to dock with an unknown planet. His best friend is dead, his girlfriend has been taken to be further experimented on, and he is alone on an alien planet with no clue on what to do next and no hope of getting home. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more videos.